Hello, once again, all my fellow patriots and you filthy leftist stalkers out there. You are listening to Angela's Soapbox on Raging Elephants Radio. My name is Angela Box. Okay, I've got a ton of crap today. Let me set my timer because I always go over it and I forgot to do it before I started. If you're new to this extravaganza, y'all, this is the Angela Box juggernaut is just getting started. I assure you, I promise you, my goal is to make these filthy leftist lives a living hell. And that is what I'm doing on a daily basis. Okay, so if you're new to this whole thing, you can find everything warehoused on angelasoapbox.com. I'm on YouTube. My little YouTube that has about 12 followers now. It's my new YouTube because they took away my old YouTube years ago. So my YouTube is Angela Soapbox. That is also BitChute and Rumble. Angela Soapbox. My Twitter is The Box That Rocks. My Instagram is The Box That Rocks. My Facebook is Angela Box Public. My Truth Social is Angela Box. Y'all, I'm everywhere. Like, throw a rock, you'll hit me, all right? And again, when in doubt, go to angelasoapbox.com. I'm getting that website revamped, and I'm so excited. It's going to look so good, you guys. Okay, every week on my show, I dedicate a sea turtle killing plastic straw to a filthy leftist or sometimes some rhinos who deserve it. And, you know, before I give the sea turtle killing straw, I need to tell you the origin of this story because I have my very good friend. She's the Gail to my Oprah. Her name is Olga. She's all over my social media, so you could find out who this lovely lady is. Anyway, she's very funny, but she always listens to the show. And she said to me last week, she was like, "What is the sea turtle killing plastic straw?" She goes, "That might offend people." And I'm like, number one, duh, that's the point. And number two, the reason I say that, if you don't know why, is because the left and the environmental Nazis have banned plastic straws because they say it kills sea turtles. Now, of course, they don't give a crap about the millions and billions of masks that they literally littered throughout the world that are covering the bottom of the ocean, eating up all the coral reefs. They don't care about killing the coral reefs, evidently. But sea turtles, that's a bridge too far for these leftists. So I make fun of them and, dedicate a sea turtle killing plastic straw. So this week, it's going, y'all, I told you that in June, I'm going to have a What Fresh Hell Awaits Us in Pride Month this week. It's here, guys, gird your loins, and it's going to Target. And Target is like, Bud Light was like, "Hey, we keep cratering and we've lost about $30 billion so far." And Target's like, "Hold my beer." So it's going to Target, and let's talk about why. Okay, so let me share my screen with you. So here's the deal. We know that Target is all about the grooming. They've made it abundantly clear that they are all about the grooming. And I said, and I think Budweiser has now lost more than 17 billion. I think it's close to every week upon week, they're losing another 30% of their business. Like, y'all, they literally can't give this crap away. They're trying to give it away for pennies on the dollar. So Target is partnering with an organization called the Gay and Lesbian Straight Education Network, or GSLEN, GSLEN. They are partnering with this organization that is pushing for kids' genders to be secretly changed in schools without parental consent. I mean, again, let me step back and miss the lightning, okay? I mean, these people are just beyond. It is remarkable the lengths to which they will go to groom children, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? So this organization, and again, it's funny because I'm old enough to remember when GLAAD had the G and the L, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. And I guess when GSLEN was invented in 1990, we didn't have all the alphabet people acronyms. I mean, the acronym gets bigger every single effing day, all right? The rainbow people alphabet. And speaking of the rainbow people, I am so, you know what it is? It's like you've taken a beautiful thing, the rainbow, a covenant between God and his people after the great flood, and then Noah came out of it, and God gave the rainbow to say, "I will never flood the world again." And you have perverted it. You have made it into something disgusting. And I didn't used to feel that way about the gay rainbow. Like, again, when it was just the rainbow flag, and it was invented in like what, 1978 by some guy. They took it and they reappropriated it for the gay whatever. It was fine, like whatever. But because you've bastardized it so much and you put like light blue and light pink and poop brown and white and all this other crap on this flag, and it's like, at some point, I think that this is seriously an Andy Kaufman skit. Like he's coming back from the grave, and he's playing a huge prank on the world with the alphabet people, because it's over the top. It's crazy. So this group, GSLN, let me share my screen again, because you're going to want to see this. Let me tell you what they're all about. So here we go. Obama linked GSLN organization was handing out fisting kits. I almost want to give a parental warning for this. Giving out fisting kits to children at public conference, and now Target is partnering with GLSEN in promoting gender transition in schools. So if you don't know what fisting is, imagine, if you will, a fist and putting it where the sun don't shine. Okay, so imagine that's what you're doing with children. That's what you're teaching children. That's the depths to which these people will go. And let me share my screen on this one too, because I want you all to see this one too. Where is this? Okay, here it is. All right, Obama, and this was, Gateway Pundit's been all over this since 2009. 2009, they were talking about this. This guy named Kevin Jennings, who was in the Obama administration, this radical gay guy who was pushing this crap onto kids during the Obama administration. And never forget, the whole point of Barack Obama, the first Black president, was to what? Commit fundamental transformation on this country. And we have seen, ever since he stepped foot in the White House in 2008, it has been a nonstop onslaught trying to destroy the American culture and the America as normal people remember it. An America that had a secure border, an America that didn't push sexualized content on children, an America that believed in capitalism and free market enterprise, an America that did not reward sloth and laziness with more government money, an America that did not try and confuse children as to what gender they are. I could go on and on and on. This is all Barack Obama's doing, all right? They set him up when he was in the state Senate. They're like, oh, hey, look, man, the Weather Underground terrorists are supporting this guy, Barack Obama, who's running for the state Senate. Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn had Obama's kickoff in their living room. They're like, hey, man, this is just the kind of guy the Democrat Party needs. So they quickly get him a speaking spot in like the 2004 Democratic Convention. They're like, oh, we need to quickly make sure this guy goes up the ladder. And he did. And he very quickly became a senator, United States senator. And then from there, he was, chosen to be the first Black president, first Black president. Anyway, so here's the Obama-linked GLSEN organization was handing out fisting kits to children at public conference. And now Target is partnering with GLSEN in promoting gender transition. Why is this doing this? My iCloud is acting really weird, by the way, so I'm sorry if that just popped up. All right, retail giant Target has partnered with Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, a group that advocates policies that keep parents unaware of their children's in-school gender transition, providing sexually explicit books to children, and pushing gender ideology throughout public school curricula. According to the report, GLSEN is a radical education group leading efforts to create, quote, inclusive and anti-racist environment, end quote, for LGBTQIA+ students, in other words, the alphabet people. GLSEN believes that every student has the right to a safe, supportive, and LGBTQ+ inclusive K through 12 education. We are a national network of educators, students, and local GLSEN chapters working to make this right a reality. The website reads, Target Corporation has confirmed its collaboration with GLSEN and expressed pride in their decade-long partnership. The company has been making annual donations to this organization, emphasizing its support for its mission. Now, you guys, look, I realize that I'm just an old prude. I'm one of those old-fashioned peoples that thinks that we should maybe not sexualize children from the age of 3 years old on, and maybe wait until the parents talk to them about these things, or better, or even, you know, later on in elementary school, which I've made mention many times before. We all had the birds and the bees separation of the boys and the girls, and the girls went one way and the boys went the other, and we had 2 different talks. That happened in like 6th grade, which is an age appropriate time for that to happen. But the fact that these people are continuing to target children, to push their agenda in front of children, to talk about incredibly explicit things in front of children, and they make no apologies about it. They make no bones about it. And now, because parents are fighting back and citizens are fighting back against this, we are supposed to think that there's something wrong with us, that we don't want this pushed in front of children. And Target is about to learn real quick who runs the family in America, and it's the dads. And the dads have had enough, and the mama bears have had enough, and they're about to put their foot down and their feet down, and Target's getting ready to learn a very hard lesson. So in the last couple of weeks that they've been pushing this out, because, you know, it's not just June anymore. They have to make sure that they ruin May also. Thank you. We get 1 day for Memorial Day, right? To honor our soldiers who have fallen, to honor people that are currently serving in the military. And we have an entire month of this garbage and pornography and brainwashing and propaganda shoved onto children, a whole month. Thanks, great. Anyway, so you would think that Target would care about its bottom line and what's happening to it. And there's a school of thought out there, and there's a TikTok video going around. I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head, but it sunk in my soul, and it scared the crap out of me. And I don't scare easily. So here's what this guy was saying. You know, all of this ESG stuff, environmental, social, governmental, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, all of this crap that we see just vomited into our culture is not by accident. It is being pushed at the highest levels by these radical leftists, these radical Marxists and communists who have a ton of money, who work with the Human Rights Campaign, and who basically tell companies who need their funding, like BlackRock funding, like people like that fund these massive corporations. They say, listen, you're going to do as you're told, or we're not going to fund you. So, you know, Target is a huge company, and Bud Light's a huge company, but at some level, they are beholden to these woke ESG standards. And what it's doing, it's like, you think you're doing one thing by boycotting, but you're actually doing another. You are hurting the people who work in these stores. You're hurting the people who deliver the Bud Light, who sell the Bud Light, who are the distributors. And I'm not saying don't boycott Target and don't boycott Bud Light. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in a way, we're hurting the people who are down the line on the food chain. And that's exactly what they want to do, because they want to create a society of people who are very rich and very poor. And of course, they being the very rich, they want to control everything. And that's what's going on. So it's a sticky thing, guys, because obviously I'm never going into Target again, ever in my life. I will never buy a Budweiser product again, ever in my life. But that's hurting the people who work there too. And at the end of the day, we don't want people to lose their jobs. We don't want people to not be able to put food on the table for their children. And it's a real tricky thing. It's a slippery slope, and it's all created by these filthy leftists. And I don't know what the solution is, except to continue to push back, guys, because at some point they are going to feel the pain, and they are going to hopefully course correct. And if they don't exactly apologize, then they at least stop pushing this crap onto kids. Like, can we do that, please, for the love of God? Again, you still haven't explained to me, drag queen, pedophile people, as to why children need to see this crap. You haven't explained any of it. So anyway, all right, you are listening to Angela's Soapbox on Raging Elephants Radio. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Angela's Soapbox on Raging Elephants Radio. I'm super excited to have a member of the State Republican Executive Committee, and off camera just now, you should see the cluster that just happened to get to where we are right now. But I'm really excited to have Chris Byrd with me because Chris knows all the ins and outs of what's been going on in the Texas legislature, and we need to jump in to the whole mess that's gone on in the last week. So welcome, Chris Byrd.
Hey, Angela, how's your day going?
Well, it was real good until this cluster.
I know.
Y'all, it was funny. It was a memorable first meeting, that's for sure. Okay, so the state executive, the state Republican Executive Committee, the SREC, explain to people what that does or what you do.
So the Republican Party of Texas is made up of 64 members. You have a chairman and a vice chair. They're elected at the state convention every 2 years. And then along with them, each Senate district, which there's 31, has a committee man and a committee woman who are also elected at that same time. And so that makes 62 members. So there's two people that represent committee man, committee woman, each Senate district. I'm in Senate District 25. So I'm the committee man for the Senate district. That's the reason for the Senate phrase in there a minute ago.
Right.
Incidentally, would you like to know why there's 31 senators?
I would, yes, of course.
Well, there's 31 chapters in Proverbs. So there you
go. Oh, there you go. There you go. That's very nice. Okay. So y'all kind of shape the party on the state level and fight with each other on what's going to be in the platform, et cetera.
That does go on at the convention. I would say that the party is very much involved in policy shaping, making, trying to get policy reduced down and memorialized in legislation. You know, that's where we end up with legislative priorities. From there, we end up with certain bills that we try to fight for. And that's kind of the role of the party.
So before we jump into the Paxton cluster, let's have some good news. Like, what are some of the good things that came out of Texas Ledge? Because they only meet once every 2 years, which I don't know how I feel about that, but it is what it is.
Well, so we had 8 legislative priorities. We actually have some others, but the top 8 are really what's considered to be the official number that we all work on. Right off the bat, we lost the Democrat chair issue. That happened on day 1. Now, 2 years ago, Speaker Phelan, he had 13 Democrat chairs. So there was a big effort, grassroots effort, showing up down at the Capitol. You probably heard about it, lots of rallies. I was in the galley that day. You know, he pushed it back, changed another date, and finally rolls out with 8 this session. So we got settled with 8 Democrat chairs, and those chairs had bills in front of them that were addressed and being driven by legislative priorities, which were approved at the convention. So we were off the bat upside down with Speaker Phelan because of the 8 Democrat chairs, and
yeah,
they did make.
So people understand in Texas, it's so weird and ass backwards to me that they have that, even though the Republicans have a clear majority, they have this, you know, collegial relationship. So they literally will give chairmanships to Democrats just because. Does anyone think that the Democrats would do that for us? Like, in any universe? It's so dumb.
I don't think anybody in their right mind thinks that. Right. Now, you know, the speaker may think that. I don't know if he does or not.
Yeah, it's amazing. So right off the bat, you're like, well, great. This guy, this drunk, he's going to be fun to work with.
Yeah, he kind of flipped the finger. He kind of flipped the finger to the Patriots in the state. So that was right off the bat. But you asked for some good news. So of the other legislative priorities, we were able to get 2 strong bills through on 2 legislative priorities. The gender mod being one of those. My own Senator Donna Campbell for SD25 rolled that out. She championed that all the way, and it did get passed, as you probably heard. However, that was not without a lot of fanfare, as I know you heard about. It was quite the rodeo down in the Capitol for a number of times. In fact, I think they reset that 2 or 3 times, but we did get it out. And then the other one was to stop sexualizing the children. And so that did finally get out very close to the end of the session, and very pivotal moment there. I believe it was a week ago, actually a week ago Monday, I think it was, but that was HB 900. And HB 900 really was drafted to represent model legislation across the country to address what's been going on with the books and the libraries and the schools and so forth with sexualizing of children. So those were two. Now, of course, we don't have a good bill on the border. We lost some ground on gun rights. We don't have a good bill on election integrity. What are some of the others?
The common sense criminal justice reform.
Well, of the ledge priorities, we also don't have anything on school choice. You know, that was way on up there. So we still got 6 other legislative priorities that are left hanging. Now, the taxpayer relief, that's some good news, sort of. You know, the special session was very limited, and we now seem to have a pissing match going on between Speaker Phelan and Lieutenant Governor over this compression and permanent exemption over homestead exemptions. You know, the cap it or not the cap, the raising it up to 100,000 and so forth. So, in fact, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, he went into a great amount of detail on that yesterday. Kind of went off on the speaker. So that one's up in the air. We may get some taxpayer relief there.
What blows my mind again is that because we only meet biannually, which I don't like that, but it is what it is. Like I said, the piece of garbage Phelan, who is, I mean, Joe Straw sucked, but I think Phelan might be worse because he's really given the middle finger to us. And we can't even get, you know, judges being able to decide what bail to give defendants. I mean, like, are you serious? So just crazy stuff that did not pass. And you can thank Dave Phelan for that.
I think we can lay a lot of that at his feet. All in all, the session has been nothing but a brutal, bloody, knockdown, drag out war between the patriots. And, you know, if you're not a patriot, basically you're a traitor.
Yeah.
But I think that we are seeing the emergence, particularly when we look at the votes on the impeachment. Mm-hmm. I think we're seeing the emergence of what I will refer to as a uniparty.
Yes.
So I think we're starting to see some vestiges of a uniparty beginning to shape up, and it's them against the patriots.
I see. I totally agree. So we had a total of, I think, so last week, for people that don't know what happened in Texas, Ken Paxton, who is the best AG in the country. I mean, he's not perfect. And, you know, there's been these rumors around Ken Paxton for almost as long as he's been in public office, talking about he's going to be indicted, he's going to be arrested, this and this and this. And, you know, the PAC that I work with, Save Texas Now, we supported Louis Gohmert in the primary. And Louis Gohmert's whole reason for running is because they all thought Paxton was going to get indicted. But we're talking about a DOJ that would love to have Ken Paxton's head. And they've never done anything with any of these things that supposedly Ken Paxton has done. So tell people what happened last week and why this impeachment of Ken Paxton was such a betrayal.
Well, Capitol, we were there for over 4 hours. The vote took place. It seemed like it was kind of quickly done. There was a lot of debate going back and forth. There were some really solid points. Actually, Representative John Smithy, an old friend of mine from Amarillo, he did an outstanding statesman style kind of talk about it. He brought out a lot of things that are very near and dear to me, being constitutional protections and this not being able to pass constitutional scrutiny and that kind of stuff. Representative Clardy was a big, pleasant surprise to me as well. Schofield did a nice job. I felt like Yes, yes. But at the end of the day, and it kind of felt like in the room, if you were there, Angela, it kind of felt like the worm was turning a little bit. The tide was shifting because really the proponents for the impeachment, which were kind of led by Representative Andy Murr, they sort of centered on emotions and they kind of centered on the accusations.
Mhm.
They really did not have much to say when they were asked about, well, if you're going to hang the right man the wrong way, it's still a wrong hanging,
Right.
right? So they were challenged on the process, constitutional protections, and they really had not much to say about that. An example being, um, Representative Murr was asked a question: "What about notice? Notice kind of is very important. Notice has to do with due process. You have an opportunity to understand what you're being charged with, prepare, and all that kind of stuff. Be called, know when you can show up, and all that." Which incidentally, under Sharia law, there's not much notice given to women, by the way, but that's another conversation. Um, However, he was asked about that, and he said, "Well, we've been working on this since February or March." Well, he doesn't answer the question about notice to Ken Paxton. He answers it by saying, "Well, we have been working behind the scenes, underground. We've been laying our plans. We haven't let anybody know, but we satisfied the notice requirements by working on it since March." That was his answer. And that's the kind of foolish talk that we got in response to procedural questions.
Right. And not to mention Andy Murr's one of his main donor is Texas for Lawsuit Reform, Dick Weekly's group, the Open Borders people. And he got like, I don't know, 60 grand from them each cycle. But I'm sure that has nothing to do with it because Ken Paxton is a border hawk. Greg Abbott has not popped his head up and said word one about this, as far as I can see. I mean, maybe he has at this point, but last week he certainly didn't. And the thing that really bothers me is that this is very similar to what happened to President Trump nationally. They had flimsy evidence, no true direct evidence. And again, I don't know. Sorry, that's my timer. We have to wrap it up in just a minute. But I don't know why, for the life of me, I'm thinking of friends of mine in Houston that are reps that I know personally, that really disappointed me in their vote. And it just makes you wonder who's pulling their strings. And Marissa Hanson, the great investigative reporter, she put out a tweet last week, and she said that she has it on good authority that Dick Weekly and TLR, Texas for Lawsuit Reform, had a big powwow, and they are part of the orchestration of this, and they want to see either George P. Bush or Eva Guzman in that spot. What have you heard?
I've heard the same thing. We've heard also Steve Ministeri, who I have some respect for, former chairman of the RPT. But I think today we just learned a little bit ago that John Scott, former Secretary of State, I don't think he was ever confirmed by the Senate to continue in that role. It's my understanding Governor Abbott has a habit of appointing secretaries of state, and then when they come up for affirmation, confirmation, renewal, we end up with another one, and then we start all over again. So the Senate, I don't think, has actually confirmed the Secretary of State in a long time. There is something, if we have time, I want to talk about very quickly on this impeachment that is near and dear to me, and it underscores what we're talking about. I've got in my hand the memorandum that Representative Murr sent to all of the House members. And this is a couple of pages of his speak where he's telling all 150 members, which incidentally, that's because we have Psalms, has 150 chapters, but he's telling them all, this is how you're to view this. Now, he cannot restrain himself. He makes this statement: because of Paxton's long-standing pattern of abuse of office and public trust, disregard and dereliction of duty, and obstruction of justice and abuse of judicial process, it is imperative that the House proceed with impeachment. Now, all of that is underlined so that a reader would not miss it. That's Andy Murr's declaration to the world of basically unfounded opinions, and that's the lenses through which all 150 House members are to consider what Andy Murr refers to as evidence Well, what do those words do? It completely destroys any notion of the presumption of innocence.
Right.
And that is so near and dear to everything we do when we consider how to take somebody's rights away from them. And what right did General Paxton have? Well, he won the right on multiple occasions to be our AG. And incidentally, not a single one of those things are past findings. This is all opinion. You cannot insert this in some kind of a charging. This is kind of like a charging order that you give to a jury. Can you imagine a judge conducting a jury trial and say, well, because of the defendant's long pattern of abuse and so forth, here's how I want you to view this current evidence on a new charge? That would never happen, ever.
Ever. And you're a lawyer, you would know. So I think that's a great period at the end of this sentence. What do you think is going to happen in the Senate? Because I talked to a friend of mine and he said that we only have like 9 solid senators and the others are up in the air.
I've not heard that. I do know that yesterday, Lieutenant Governor Patrick did roll out a very, very lengthy, very robust non-disclosure agreement, we'll just call it, kind of a gag agreement. Can't talk about it. And not only for the senators, all 31, but also all of their staff members. I've heard about that. And so if somebody's talking past that point, I wouldn't know who it is. I don't know that I trust it. I do have a sense from just watching the Senate work in the past, they tend to be pretty tight knit. I've even heard on occasion that they may gather together and pray over an issue. Wouldn't be surprised if they did that on this occasion. You know, obviously one of their own senators is General Paxton's wife. And that's going to be interesting how that plays out as well. You know, if the Democrats will call her to recuse herself or not, you know, will public opinion or will our new uniparty Republicans, you know, join in with that crowd? We really don't know. My personal suspicion is that for things just like what I pointed out, which really undermine the basic vote of the House, I think that one sentence right there would allow a judge to throw out the whole thing and say, no, we're not going any further. You've already tainted the jury, so to speak. You've already tainted the grand jury also, because you can't go in and do that sort of stuff. And the presumption of innocence has to remain. Our judicial system has always held very cherished that it is better to let a guilty man go than to wrongly punish the innocent. And then, frankly, that's one of the reasons I went on to law school.
Well, in about 20 seconds we have left, how can people reach you? Because you are a lawyer and you sound like a damn good one. You sound like one of the good ones. So how can people reach you?
Well, my information is on the RPT website. Thank you for the compliment. I do have a website for my law practice, which is www.chrisbyrdlaw.com. And our phone number
is Bird with a Y. Bird with a Y.
Bird with a Y. That's right. And our phone number is there too, and email as well.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for joining me. This has been fun, even though it was shenanigans to get to this point. I really enjoyed having you on. I hope you will come back. All right, guys, you are listening to Angela's Soapbox on Raging Elephants Radio. We will be right back. Welcome back to Angela's Soapbox on Raging Elephants Radio. Okay, these 2 next segments are going to be real fast. I'm just warning you, because I get yelled at if I go too much over. It's like I need to learn how to have self-restraint and make sure that my show is tight, because pretty soon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be on a much bigger platform. Yeah, that's right. I said it. You heard it here first. Okay. Let me share my screen, because I'm not quite done with this. What fresh hell in Pride Month awaits us today. So Dylan Mulvaney, who has single-handedly working with Alyssa Heiberschleiber, or whatever that chick's name was, have destroyed the brand of Bud Light in 2 months or something like that. Why can I not find this? Basically, okay, so here's the deal. So Dylan Mulvaney, I gotta find this. I want you to see this because it's too good. Dylan Mulvaney has now, who is a twink, He is a biological man who has, says that he has a year of girlhood under his belt. So therefore he knows more about what being a woman is like than you regular cisgender females. Cause you cisgender females are just, you're pretenders, you're wannabes. Anyway, Dylan Mulvaney is a year of girlhood under his belt. So the geniuses at in Bud Light decided to give him his own can and to make sure that he is so super represented. And they've got to, things need to branch out with Bud Light, and they need to be like more inclusive and diverse and blah blah blah. So they've, this twink has basically ruined the brand of Anheuser-Busch, a storied brand that has been with American culture for, I don't know however long it's been in business, 150 years, I don't know. Literally destroying it in less than 2 months. Okay, so if you see the screen here, Dylan Mulvaney comes out as a lesbian, and I made the comment with his 5 o'clock shadow popping. So this heifer, and I call him a heifer because he's a girl now, this heifer is cosplaying as a girl, as a woman, and now he's like, well, because I'm a girl, I've decided that I like women. So basically, Dylan Mulvaney is now straight. I guess that's what he's trying to tell us. He's now a straight man, which, I mean, call me crazy. I'm pretty sure that little twink ain't straight, but whatever. Anything to earn some social media followers, and he's just thirsty as hell and whatever. He sucks. So, okay, there's that. Check this out, guys. Remember last week how we had a false flag right in action with the guy that was driving the U-Haul up to the White House and basically was like, I'm going to kill the president, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Well, you will be shocked to know that, as I mentioned last week, the guy is not white. He is a brown man, and his name is Cy Kendula. This is from Cat Turd, love Cat Turd. Update on Cy Kendula, alleged white supremacist who crashed U-Haul into White House barrier, is not a U.S. citizen, bought his Nazi flag online, and supports eugenics and the one-world order. So once all that came out, it's like, you're like, oh, I'm shocked. Remember they put the Nazi flag out, and they made sure that you saw the Nazi flag. The media made sure that the Nazi flag, there was lots of pictures of it, and like, oh, look at this. But then when they realized that this guy was not a white guy, therefore not useful in their propaganda, they downgraded his charge from federal charges that have since been downgraded to a single count of depreciation of property of the United States. Now, Mark Hemingway of the Federalist said this. I don't want to sound paranoid, but that seems like they're trying to hush this up. So basically, when they realized again he wasn't a white man, they could not make hay with this case anymore. So they stopped. I mean, that tells you everything you need to go about these people. They're terrible, horrible people. I say it all the time, but it bears repeating. Like, these people are absolutely from hell. And there's good and there's evil, and you got to pick a side, people. You got to pick a side. And that's why it is so disturbing to me to see so many people that I thought I could depend on in the Texas State House turn their back on Governor Paxton, I wish, Attorney General Paxton, and impeach him. Because here's the deal. They want someone in there they can control. They want someone in there that isn't going to do crap about the border. Now, look, A.G. Paxton is not perfect. He could have done a lot more with election integrity, but he makes a good point. I remember seeing him speak once at a meeting, and he said, look, I have a staff of like, I don't know, 400 people or something crazy. And he goes, and literally only 4 have been assigned to look at election integrity. Actually, I guess that's a dig on Paxton, isn't it? But yeah, only 4 to 5 or 6 are tasked with looking at election integrity. So that's a problem. I'm trying to find this so you guys can see this. Okay, so check this. We've got a real problem here with Democrat-run cities and Democrat controlled corporations with this ESG, this environmental, social, governmental that I talked about in the first segment. And this last week in Lululemon sells, $100 yoga pants because they can, I guess. And all the all the soccer moms and the lacrosse moms and the moms that send their kids to Kincaid, and the Kincaid people are as woke and insane as the rest of any HISD school or any public school. They talk about gender ideology with kindergartners. They suck just as bad. So these moms that are wearing all this crap, there's my timer, I'm just gonna go a little bit over. These moms that are wearing all this, Lululemon crap, I hope that they know that they can now go into Lululemon and basically steal whatever the hell they want. So this is from Byron York. 2 women work at Lululemon store in Atlanta area. Shoplifters come in, leave with armfuls of clothing. Let me just give you a spoiler alert on the race of the shoplifters. I know you're going to be shocked, but they were black. Store workers pursue, video, call police. Robbers caught, employees fired. Calling cops against company policy. Against company policy. So here's what I said. ESG societal breakdown in real time. And if you want to talk about some black privilege, here we go. Here's an example of black privilege. This is the dirty little secret, and we know this to be true. They will not prosecute black people. They just won't do it. They're like, no, there's so much systemic racism, and this is part of our reparations to black people. We need to basically let them rob us blind. And, the inner city is now coming in to Main Street. We have the looting and the robbing that is out of control. We have this 1619 project, this crap that's going to be on ABC. I think it's probably aired as I'm taping this. They're going to air it for 2 nights on ABC. And the 1619 project came out on Hulu, and it was very, this is for us. And just, it's like, again, unpopular opinion, but is inventing history, is that like what the level of Orwell are? Are we full Orwell now, where we are literally making crap up as we go along? Because the 1619 project is complete garbage. It has been refuted, it has been debunked, and yet ABC thinks it's a great idea to go out and give their airtime for free, I might add. I'm sure the 1619 project didn't pay a dime to have this on, or Hulu didn't pay a dime for ABC to air this, and allow for 2 hours of propaganda. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because they're going to try and usher in reparations. That's the next step. That's what's going on here. They're doing it out in California. Every big city mayor wants it. That's what they're trying to set up. And I don't know about you, but I never have owned slaves. I mean, I don't know, maybe you have. Maybe you're like totally a slave owner and like low key about it. But I'm pretty sure that anyone alive today and generations removed from us had nothing to do with slavery. It's outrageous. It's outrageous what these people are doing. Divide and conquer, divide and conquer. That's all it is. All right, guys, you are listening to Angela's Soapbox on Raging Elephants Radio. I got one more segment. It's the shoehorning, and we are really shoehorning today. Be right back. Welcome back to Angela's Soapbox on Raging Elephants Radio. Okay, this is seriously going to be a short segment. I know I always say that, but for real it is. Okay, so let me just jump into some things here. Let me share my screen. Here's something. So remember I was telling you about the false flags and all the things they were doing and yada, yada. Well, so I was putting up a TikTok about it, and my TikTok is Angela's Soapbox. Go follow it. It's fledgling, but we'll get there. Anyway, I was putting up a TikTok about it. I was trying to put a hashtag of false flag. And if you can see this on the screen, you will see that the term false flag as it stands will not auto-populate. It will not populate at all. You have to add an extra G for it to populate, because that kind of proves the point about deep staters, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Kind of proves our point about that there's false flags going on when you literally cannot auto-populate the term false flag on TikTok. But whatever, I digress. I mean, we're just all crazy. Here's something else. Let me share my screen again. Honestly, I'm learning every day new stuff with this technology, like the screen share. So forgive me if it's, if it's clunky right now. It is, honestly, it's probably always going to be clunky. I'm not a tech person. Okay. So we know that the FBI is totally corrupt. We know that McCarthy and Comer are basically subpoenaing Ray. They want these documents that show that they were basically covering up for the Hunter Biden laptop scandal, and they were, working with the Obama administration to frame President Trump. They want all these documents, and they're either slow walking it, ignoring it, or outright, saying, no, I'm not coming. So Chris Wray has now been slapped with a subpoena to appear in front of the Weaponization of Government committee. Actually, not a subpoena. He's already been subpoenaed. They ignored it. Now they're going to hold Chris Wray in contempt. So there's a lot of questions that need to be asked of Chris Wray, including this from Paul Sperry. Let's see. Mueller stopped investigating the veracity of the Steele dossier as early as September 2017. So that's 9 months after Donald Trump was put into office, according to the Durham report, because his team concluded it was bunk. Yet Mueller continued investigating Trump for another 18 months, ladies and gentlemen. 18 months. What does that tell you? It tells you that the whole damn system is corrupt. It needs to be ripped out, root and branch. Because what was January 6th? January 6th was the establishment, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, telling regular Americans, don't you dare. Don't you dare ask questions. Don't you dare speak out. Don't you dare ask any questions about our system. Because if you do, here's what's going to happen. We're going to throw you in the dungeon and throw away the key for the rest of your life. Because isn't that what happened to these patriots who are still languishing in jail, which I've made mention? It literally brings me to tears to think about these people that are in jail and have no money to even call their lawyers, like Stuart Rhodes has no money in his commissary. They won't allow him to have money in his commissary to call his lawyer. I'm hopefully going to have that lawyer on at some point. Here's the deal, though. These people that defend the January 6th defendants, they become targets themselves. So they don't want to do media. They don't want to talk to people because they're being tormented and targeted. And that's where we're at. When I'm not allowed to bring up the Durham report on certain news outlets, and I'm literally shut down from speaking about it, that tells you everything you need to know. This is a full court press, all hands on deck. We must stop the truth from coming out. That's what we're dealing with here. But my show, ladies and gentlemen, I don't play. I'm going to make their lives a living hell. My show is about exposure, number one, humiliation, number two. And together, we're going to do it, guys. They're not going to be able to stop me because I don't quit. I am a dog with an MF and bone, okay? I will not stop. All right, let me share my screen with you for a couple more things before we have to wrap up. So if you wonder, why aren't the Republicans pushing back more on open borders? Why is it that when we're in power, when Trump was president, he said, let's build the wall, we got so much pushback? And it wasn't just from Democrats, it was from a-holes like Paul Ryan and that wing of the party, which is, spoiler alert, the same wing of the party that's trying to dispatch Ken Paxton, okay? They are rapidly, as Chris Byrd said in our segment, rapidly forming a uniparty in Texas. They want to get rid of any MAGA people. They want to set the stage for Ron DeSantis to come in and sweep the table in Texas. And because if Ron DeSantis can win in Texas, that's a big get. I don't think he will, but that's what they want to do. And they also want to put in, either Jeb Bush or Eva Guzman, or as Chris mentioned, Steve Munisteri. The point is that, except for George P. Bush, I don't know much about Guzman. I don't know much about Munisteri. I do know that Ken Paxton won his reelection in a walk like a year ago, or 2 years ago. So how about we not do that to the voters of Texas? But I digress. So here's one of the reasons why they don't want MAGA people or building the wall, because Republicans benefit from it, Democrats benefit from it. And one of the ways Republicans benefit from it is that they get to talk about it a lot. They get to campaign on it. And when they get in power, they don't do jack what about it. So here we go. Here's something in New York. And this is actually a good thing that Greg Abbott did when he did that, a whole thing. We're going to start shipping migrants all over to blue states and blue cities. That was seen as kind of a campaign stunt or a publicity stunt. But actually, the sheriffs that have a ton of illegal aliens in their jails, they're like, hey, we'll ship them. Here you go. Here's a bus full of illegals for you, New York. So here we go. This is New York City. This place deserves to be shut down. Migrant hotel employee reveals the free-for-all of drugs, sex, and violence inside New York City's The Row since it was closed to tourists to make room for border crossers, aka illegal aliens, Daily Mail. An ex-employee of the Row Hotel in New York has exposed the appalling state of the hotel rooms occupied by newly arrived migrants in the city at its city's expense. I could go on and on about this. I want to get in one more story. Basically, here's the point. The blue states are now dealing with what border towns and border communities have had to deal with for, time immemorial. And people like the best member of Congress, in my opinion, right now, Chip Roy. Chip Roy is literally leading the fight to stop this insanity of this debt ceiling bill. And it's not, debt ceiling's not sexy, whatever, but this needs to be stopped. I mean, it's ridiculous what the Republicans bent over and took up the A with no lube. Okay, it's disgusting. So basically, hopefully you can read this if you're screen reading with me. So what Chip Roy and his people that are holding out wanted was limit, save, and grow. Some of the things: HR1 energy permitting reform as passed by the House, strong work requirements for SNAP, basically strong work requirements for welfare, 131 billion cut to annual spending next year, fully overturn Biden's $500 billion student loan bailout, rescind the $80 billion Dems gave to the IRS to hire 87,000 new IRS agents to come torment you, reclaim 508 billion in unobligated unspent COVID funding, and the Full Reins Act to ensure Congress approves every major regulation. Also, repeal Democrats' 1.2 trillion IRA unreliable energy tax breaks for the rich, corporations, and communist China. Now, I can't go on because my time is up, but basically we got none of that. We got none of it. We got like 4 to 5% of what we wanted, and Kevin McCarthy wants us to go, yay, good job, Kevin. No. Chip Roy and the other badasses, the other conservative heroes for this week. Chip Roy is my number one conservative hero. Thank you, Chip Roy, for holding the line, because this is shades of the speaker's fight, and we need to stop this debt ceiling in its tracks. Probably won't happen because all the Democrats are going to vote for it, but it should be stopped. This is the White House is bragging that they basically got a win here. It's disgusting. It's horrific. It's awful. All right, guys, that is my time. You've been listening to Angela's Soapbox on Raging Elephants Radio. Please go follow me on my social media: BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, Angela's Soapbox, Instagram, and Instagram. I can't even think. I'm so tired. Instagram and Twitter at The Box That Rocks. Facebook is Angela Box Public. When in doubt, go to angelasoapbox.com. Until next time, everyone, keep kicking ass and taking names. Peace.